Hey everybody, welcome back to Battle Ready Inc. So this week's feature match was Alphamon versus Lilithloop. Two huge fan favorites this format. We're still waiting to see how they're going to perform. We've still been seeing Black do decently well so far in the Grand Prix, and I definitely was glad that this was part of my agenda for covering this week, because I know a lot of people are going to be looking at Black again this format, seeing it once again surprise a lot of people and take a top. So let's get into this deck profile. Also, our memory marker this month is going to be, this is our golden armor egg here. And this is our prototype that we have so far. It's still a work in progress for sure. We will, once it's complete, we're going to do a cast of this and then make multiple copies out of resin this month. Again, this is just our prototype, still a work in progress. I wanted to show you guys at least something what we got going. And not just skip out on you. Again, this is going to be for Patreon for the month of November. Now, if you want any of our previous memory markers we've had on the channel, check the coffee link in the description below. There's all of our previous markers that we've had on the channel before that are now available. The benefit, though, of going through Patreon, though, is that you get the current memory marker a whole month early before it even goes live for sale on Coffee. Also, you can get them a little bit cheaper if you go through Patreon, potentially, because Patreon has the shipping included, whereas Coffee, you had to pay extra for shipping. Now, some of them, it just depends, but stuff like the Golden Armor Digimon, or the Golden Armor Egg, is going to be, I've been told, $20 from the start, and that's not included shipping. So if you definitely want to get a Golden Armor one, I definitely recommend going through Patreon to get yours. So let's jump right in here. So immediately up front, I've got 4 of the new Augumon, and this is the on deletion, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a black Digimon, you get to add it to your hand. Really nice, just a little bit of extra. It's sort of like a draw, not quite on the level of purple where you can just draw one, discard one. But for the most part, if you're playing a black deck, black doesn't really splash well with other colors for the most part, so it'll pretty much always be that. The only thing you got to kind of worry about is that it has to be a Digimon, and that's usually the biggest problem. So I still feel pretty comfortable with the 4. There's just the question of, is there an egg that's better? And it really kind of came down to either of the Kapurimons of giving yourself 1,000 if it has blocker, or giving yourself 1,000 if it has reboot. Now, if you look at our next Digimon that we have here, we have the toy Augumon here, and this is given reboot to everything underneath it, or everything above it, I should say. So anything that Digivolves will have it. This is one of our bigger primary Evo targets. This is our preferred rookie that we want to go into. So you could definitely argue grabbing the reboot Kapurimon instead of the Augumon if you want to go just way more aggressive with that 1,000 DP. But if you want more consistency, then the Augumon is going to be where you're at. Next, we got the promo Suna Zeramon, and this thing has gone up in price. If you've been kind of keeping an eye out, he is definitely going up quickly. Your turn, all of your Digimon with 13,000 DP gain piercing. So one of the great things about Alphamon is normally he's 11,000, but you can pay memory when he attacks, and for every 1 memory you pay up to 5, he gains 1,000 DP. So you can pay 2 memory, go up to 13,000 DP, and boom, you trigger this Suna's Zeramon. Either if you have another one on field, or if you have him in the Digivolution sources, he gets security attack +1 to that Alphamon when he hits that 13,000 DP. So that's really cool. Both effects working great. This thing is awesome. I love this guy. Really comes together in this deck a lot. Next, we got the toy Augumon, and originally I had this one at 4 and the reboot at 3, but after playing it, I really wanted that reboot like every time. Alphamon only has 11,000 on your opponent's turn, so being able to reboot so they can't just swing over him fairly easy was pretty important for me. So I switched these up a little bit, but this is just your little consistency booster. End of your opponent's turn, if your opponent didn't attack with a Digimon, you get to draw one. So that's pretty cool for that consistency booster. He's great for just evoing a blocker on top of him and then just leaving that blocker there on field, going up into a new stack afterwards, and just having him sit there turn after turn. I in all of our test games, there was plenty of turns where I got tons of value off this toy Augumon. But again, he's just really good for a blocker that sits off to the side, and your Digimon that did evolve all the way up into Megas, you definitely want these two underneath your Mega, okay? So that's why I went ahead and bumped these up to the primary 4 and 4 of these, because, yeah, definitely our number one targets for Mega inheritables. Next, we got 3 Chumon. This is our memory blocker for the deck. Memory blockers are going to be so fundamental this format. If you saw the feature match, you saw the benefit there. But also, just in all my decks, if I can throw in 3 memory blockers, I do. Originally, in the previous formats, I was running 2, but this format, it's going to be so prevalent to run 3. Just looking at a lot of the decks that are out there, they're all about gaining memory to do stuff. Blue has 3 different option cards that it's running that gain it memory, so turning those off. Turning off every one of the new memory boost cards, those are going to be great. Those are all consistency boosters for every single color, so turning off those is going to be super important. So memory blockers, just, oh my god, I cannot stress it enough how important a memory blocker is for our BT6 format. Next, we've got our blocker here, Zeramon. This is the 6000 DP blocker, the 2-cost Evo. Again, I harp on it as well in every single one of my deck profiles where I'm running blockers. I switch back to the 2-cost Evos for the 6000 DP just because we see so much popularity of Jesmon and everyone wanting to run Jesmon. It did phenomenal in the JP format, so a lot of people have a high expectancy of it for our format as well, and it can't touch the 6000 DP, and that's ultimately why we run it, because when it swings, it can't use its effect to pop 5000 DP or less, and really fundamental. For black, it's more of your bringing out this blocker. You're not going to stop the Jessamon because the Jessamon's got piercing. It's all the follow-ups, the things that after they clear your security, if they go Omnimon, they try to go Omnimon for game, you still have your blocker to block that Omnimon so they can't win. Or if they try to go like a Goonimon on top of their memory fixer, and they try to swing for game, they can't do that either. So that's why we have these 6000 DP blockers. It's a good blocker in a nutshell, but it's good against multiple decks, okay? The 5000 DP blocker is good against pretty much any other deck. It gets the job done, but particularly against red, even if they're going on a Shoutmon build, you need to be at 6000 DP to stand up to those. So that's why we went with the Zeramon. Next, I do have the Tankmon here, and I just wanted a 1-cost Evo Vanilla. I could have gone with the Numemon. I'll show you at the end some alternate options that I could have chosen. But again, the Numemon just dies too easily, and this 1-cost Evo, that's really what I need. It's just the 1-cost Evo. 6000 DP, so it can't die. So if I need to pass my turn with it, and it's just sitting out there, I don't have to worry about it dying too easily unless they're just going to burn a really big high-cost option card to kill it. So I should be good with that 6000 DP. Real solid card. And then now we got the new Machmon, okay? And this is a motorcycle Digimon. It's pretty awesome. 2-cost Evo, but the play cost of 4 actually came up in our feature match of played this guy for this decoy black, and this is a new keyword for this format. When one of your other black Digimon would be deleted, you may delete this Digimon to prevent it. Now it does have to be let's see, when one of your other black Digimon would be deleted. I thought it said it was deleted by an option, but I might have been misreading that somewhere else. But it's great for just taking the hits on those Alphamons that you leave suspended, or if they swing over. Purple has the new Skull Greymon that basically gives all of its stuff retaliation potentially, just throws it on underneath anything. We saw in the feature match, it got put underneath a blocker. That blocker had retaliation, which was absolutely terrifying. So the Alphamon swung, got blocked by the blocker, but then the Machmon ended up taking the hit of that Skull Greymon to keep the Alphamon on field. So very cool card. Definitely liking it a lot. There is a level 5 decoy black card, but it feels so bad losing a level 5. Just intentionally deleting your level 5 I'm not that took a couple turns to evo typically into a level 5. Took a lot of resources to get into that level 5. I don't want it just to willingly delete it myself. And then this is just easier to get out than that level 5 is. Next, we got our level 5s here, and I've got a nice even spread. I did have some other stuff in here, which I'll cover at the end. It was really hard to get my ratios to the point where I really liked it for my level 5s. I like Manzemon because that 2-cost Evo is just really cheap, really efficient. This deck is pretty prominent about wanting to get into its Megas super fast. Now, it's not by any means a turbo deck. We're not just trying to get into our level 6s or level 7s at any cost. We do want really nice inheritables along the way, so we're not going to maximize out on the War at Manzemon. It's nice, in certain situations where you really need that 2-cost Evo, but other situations, these 3-cost, these inheritables you really can't beat. First, the Mega Dramon, giving blocker to your Megas and just you're in your level 7s is so good, especially, with Reboot, with that Augumon Reboot and blocker on these nice big bodies here is great stuff for sure. We do have the Gogmamon though, which is kind of nice as well. I'm really digging it, and the reason is this Digiburst one of your Digimon gets plus 2000 DP for the turn. It doesn't have to be Gogmamon itself. It can be something else, which is really nice when you can Digiburst this away, either target itself or target something else on field, give it that 2000. And if it's an Alphamon, Alphamon goes up to 13 without having to spend any memory. So getting yourself to 13 to trigger those Suna Zeramon effects of, the piercing or the +1 security, that sort of thing. Then when your Alphamon swings, you don't have to spend any memory to bump it up. And that's great because then as soon as the attack ends, you gain 2 memory. So if you don't have to spend 2 memory to get yourself to 13, you just get free value out of that, which I love about the Gogmamon, just being able to kind of circumvent that whole needing to pay memory to gain that DP buff. And then even if you're kind of done with this trick and you want to keep your other inheritables, whatever they may be, you can Digivolve on top of him, and you still get the 1000 just all the time for this inheritable here, which means you only had to pay 1 memory to bump your Alphamon up to that 13. So then you're still going to gain 2 back, so you still net advantage with this inheritable. But this was just a really neat way to just kind of circumvent everything. But really like the blocker a whole lot as an inheritable, and the Manzemon also as that 2-cost Evo. Just all 3 of these guys felt so good. And there were so many situations where in one game where I could have gone into any of these guys and felt pretty solid about it. Next, we got our level 6 package, though. And first up, we have the Genkumon. And when Digivolving, delete all of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest play cost. What I love about this is it says play cost, not DP, like a lot of stuff is. Delete the thing with the lowest DP. Because DP on rookies fluctuates so much. You know what doesn't usually fluctuate a whole lot on rookies? Their play cost. So delete all of your opponent's basically 3 play cost stuff with this guy is great. Just a big old board wipe against those rookie rush players. We've seen D Brigade get decently popular here recently. That's a whole lot of rookies that you can pop at once. D Brigade rookie rush is kind of a thing. So just wiping out their whole field on 1 Digivolve is pretty solid. It is a 4 cost, which is a little steep. But not the worst when you get a nice big effect like this. If there's only one thing out there on your opponent's side of the field, say they put all their resources and went into one big mega, just Digivolve into this guy and kill that mega. It's so good. Also, your turn while your opponent has an unsuspended Digimon, this Digimon gains security attack +1. So he's got a little bit of extra punch power. Plenty of times your opponent's going to have stuff that's going to be unsuspended. Whether it be the rookies, memory blockers, that sort of thing, or level 5s that they're getting ready to go into megas, that sort of thing. This is actually pretty easy to trigger here, honestly, pretty often. At least when it matters. If it's something is suspended, then you might want to be using the Genkumon to swing over what is suspended. So it is what it is. So in that case, the security attack doesn't matter. Out of all your secondary mega choices for an Alphamon deck, you got to basically look at just the Royal Knights, which is Genkumon as well as Craniumon, and we'll discuss him at the end as well. Because if you'll notice, Craniumon's not in my build, but I did consider it. Next, we got Alphamon himself, which is the kind of the focus of the deck. Of course, we're going to maximize out on this guy at a 4 of, simply because he has a nice security effect that if you're running less copies of him, you decrease the chances of him hitting insecurity. So I really like for him to hit insecurity, as much as possible. So 4 for sure on this guy. Also, he himself has Royal Knight, so he can trigger himself if you have one on field and another one hits insecurity. Pretty great. 3 cost Evo, pretty standard. 11,000 DP is, it's unfortunately average. But his effect here of when attacking, you may pay up to 5 memory. If you do, this Digimon gets plus 1,000 DP for the turn for each memory paid. So you can go up to 16,000 DP, which is pretty solid. That's swinging over, all the Omnimons that are in the game. So that's great. And then after the attack, gain 2 memory. So if you pay 1 memory, you net yourself 1. If you pay 2, then you break even and you're still good. If you pay overwards up to 5, you get a little bit back, but not the worst. So that gain 2 is pretty awesome. But really, it's this really neat security effect. At the end of the battle, add this Digimon to your hand. Then if a Digimon with Royal Knight or X antibody in its type is in play, up to 12 of your opponent's Digimon can't attack players for the turn. That's just great. If you watch the feature match, there was like 7 things that were about to swing in on the Alphamon player, and this got triggered and just turned off that whole turn for them. So they overextended trying to get at thinking they were about to take game, and then this Alphamon hit insecurity and just turned it all off. And you get to add it to hand. Like, it's not needed, like it's already good, but the fact that you also get to add it to hand is just really great. Also, this alt art is sick, just completely surrounded by all these Royal Knights. There's a Lord Nightmon there, you see Gallantmon here. I'm not sure who all the rest of them are, but they're all around him, like literally everywhere. Very cool stuff. Next is, I went with Defeat. Okay, and why did I go with Defeat over something like regular Zwart? It's mainly the when digivolving. Delete one of your opponent's Tamers. This format, Tamers are going to be in a really, really good place, a really powerful place. Simply looking at stuff like Gabumon Bond of Friendship is going to be a very, very highly played deck. And being able to delete those mats is so crucial. You have to delete the mat so they can't warp digivolve into the Bond of Friendship, and that's what's so crucial, is deleting those mats, and that's what the premise of Defeat here. But also, in addition to that, Lilith Loop, in the feature match, there was a point when I discussed that if they did digivolved into the Defeat, they could have deleted the white Tamer on field, and they couldn't have played the Mega Fusion option card at that point, and that would have completely turned the game a whole different direction. So Defeat, is in a really good place. Deleting memory fixers is also great. Definitely expect Defeat to stick around for a while as a pretty prominent card. Also, hitting insecurity, you just get to play it for free. On deletion, delete one of your opponent's Digimon. Like, all these effects are so good, and in a really good place in this format. Only a 3 Evo cost for a level 7. Like, that's awesome. Absolutely. Next, we got the Iron Fisted Onslaught, and this is delete all of your opponent's Digimon with the highest play cost. So this is a tricky one. Most of the time, it's just going to be used to delete whatever is big on field. If you're paying 8 memory to play a card like this, you're typically trying to delete whatever Mega or level 7 that they have on field, right? But in addition to that, say you're playing against Rookie Rush and they go super wide with a whole bunch of 3 play cost or just a bunch of 2 play cost rookies on their field. You play this and you can clear all their rookies. Because, it says play cost. It has nothing to do with DP, and I think that's really, really good. So same argument that we made for Genkumon here, we can also use for his option card as well, is that it says play cost specifically and not DP. So play cost gets pretty like similar across the board for a lot of levels. So definitely a good card that you can look at. I went with the black memory boost though here, simply for the consistency. Reveal the top 4 cards, add any black Digimon you want. I love the memory fixers, or the new the new memory boost cards, simply because they're consistency boosters. We get a mill 4 or reveal 4 and then add whatever card we need for that situation in that moment, and add it to our hand and keep our plays going. Also, in the delay 2, gain 2 memory is just really cool. And then just kind of closing it out here with these last 2, I went with the Izzy, just because I wanted at least one memory fixer. The Izzy and Joe are really awesome. And if you can combine them with an Izzy, so you can like double up, Izzy puts you to 3, and then these guys bump you up to a little bit even higher. That's great. But really, it's just the memory fixer is great, but you don't want multiple memory fixers on field because then it feels dead. Hitting just one is awesome. If I don't hit into one, it's okay. If I can hit these guys instead, we're still off to the races. These guys, if your opponent has 2 or more Digimon in play, gain 2 memory. That is so easy to trigger. So easy. Like, how many games have you played where your opponent didn't have more than 1 Digimon on field? Like, almost never, right? Like, almost never. I mean, maybe early on, back in the days of like 1.0, when only people did was go into Omnimon to pass turn. But that's a long ways back, okay, at this point. Also, your opponent's turn, when one of your black Digimon is deleted, you may suspend the tamer trigger, draw 1. That comes up. It can be kind of relevant. A little extra draw never helps, or never hurts. Definitely helps. But yeah, so if you get multiples on these, you can play around this a little bit, at least early on. You cannot play around a memory fixer. A solid memory fixer like Izzy is always good. So I like this split, the 1 and 2. I could just max out and go 3 of these guys, but I think that there's no harm in going with the 1 Izzy here, just for that guarantee, just in those situations. Now, for the rest of the cards here that I have, these are more of just variants that you could play instead of some of the others. Like, I've got the Zwart here. If you don't want to go with Defeat, because really I like the Defeat because of the Tamers, evoing and deleting a Tamer in this format feels really good. But, just going and bringing out 2 level 5s to go into more Alphamons, go into more whatever Megas. Bringing out multiple blockers, that tons of plays that you can do that all feel great. If you want to bring out the decoys, you can do that as well. I think just the Defeat's a little bit better. And then Craniumon was the other black mega that I was looking at, because he also has Royal Knight, so he works for Alphamon for triggering your Alphamon in security. He is a big blocker. All of your turns, your Digimon with blocker can't be deleted by your opponent's effects. My main issue was I wasn't getting enough value off of this. Like, he himself is protected, and, if I Digivolve an Alphamon on top of a Megadramon, he's got blocker. But that's a very specific set of Evos that I have to do to give my Alphamon blocker. And especially if, say, the Craniumon just happens to Digivolve on top of a Megadramon, I'm losing value at that point. And then the Genkumon just being able to delete something on my opponent's side of the field. Anytime I can Digivolve into something and get some deletion, some Digimon deletion, doesn't, even if it's something weak, that's still more security checks that I prevent. So deleting 1 Digimon on field and blocking 1 Digimon on field, that's almost the same in a way. You're preventing 1 security check, and just taking, like, removing resources off the field, I think, is more powerful than blocking, because blocking, they can at least just choose not to attack and keep Digivolving into something more of a threat, whereas removing it off the field is way better. Here was the level 5 black that I discussed earlier with that decoy. It feels bad losing a level 5, though. I still stick by it. You don't want to intentionally be like, nope, I'm going to delete this level 5 instead. The other one was, I was originally trying to play with the Volknomon in my deck. If you watch the feature match, this guy got milled a little bit. Just the inheritable of getting security attack +1 when there's an unsuspended Digimon in play. Just like the Genkumon has in his effect. If your opponent has an unsuspended, you get security attack +1. Same premise there. But it kind of came back to my level 5s were in a position where I liked the level 5s I had, and trying to work in a 4th level 5 just really spread me too thin. I was having to play like 2 copies of cards instead of the 3, and just for a security attack +1, Black's goal isn't usually to go ham on security attack pluses, right? Like OTK Black it has been a thing before. It's not very powerful. If you're trying to go for a lot of security attack, play red, okay? You're not playing black to try to go hard on the security attack bonuses. Next, we got Mechanorimon. If you don't want to play the level 4 decoy, you can play Mechanorimon. I mean, this thing has been in formats and it's been good for a good bit now. It's been in BT5 and in black decks just predominantly. Splashed into other decks as well, just randomly, just because you're always going to you're always going to play it instead of evoing it, because that evo cost is way too steep. But that 4 play cost is, for a level 4 is pretty standard, pretty solid. Blocker, and then every time you block and it survives, it gets to unsuspend. So against D Brigade decks that are getting popular, or just Rookie Rush in general, one Mechanorimon just kind of like turns off a lot of what they're hoping to do. So definitely another contender for that last slot for our level 4s. The Numemon as well, I discussed. 1 cost vanilla. 1 cost Evo vanilla level 4. That 3000 DP though is just really hurting it. If you pass turn with this and he's out on the field, he's so easy to kill that you just kind of felt like you wasted the deck space and you wasted time and the Evo stack to get into him. Where if you had just Evo'd for 1 to go into Tankmon, that Tankmon's way more difficult to get rid of through effects. So the play cost alone just isn't enough for me. Like, there's some situations where I could hard play this guy, but he just gets popped too easy. So kind of stay clear of this format. Then we got the blocker Augumon, and I think if you went with a more Craniumon build, that's a Augumon with this blocker could be more viable. Also with like Zwart in bringing back things on field. If you don't have enough level 4 blockers in the trash, you can bring back this Augumon instead of his blocker, just to kind of like cushion yourself a little bit, put a little bit of insulation between you and losing. So yeah, he's definitely another one that you could consider. And then the Ultimate Flare, I just want to kind of toss it in there. There was, a couple situations in the feature match where it could have definitely helped if it had gotten hit in security or if it had gotten played. Just to delete all the level 3s, the play cost of 3 or less on field, just wipe them all out would have been phenomenal. I don't play this, though, simply because I'm going with the Genkumon. And as long as I got the Genkumon, then there's no real need to Evo into or play that option card, because he's going to kind of do that anyway, in theory, by deleting all the 3 play cost Digimon that are on the field. So most of the time there's not going to be any 2 play cost. Depending on the matchup, again, there's certain Rookie Rushes that are out there that are going to be playing those 2 cost. In that situation, you just play around that sort of card. Alright, and that's just a zoomed out version of the deck. These first 2 rows is the deck itself, and this bottom is just some alternate cards that kind of fit in there. If you want to work them in instead, there is argument for running any of these cards for their slots versus some of these guys up here. Now, I do have another build that I want to show you guys that I'm going to jump over to right quick. And this was just a fun idea. It's definitely not necessarily competitive, but running Gallantmon, because the Gallantmon has the Royal Knight tag in it. It is red, but thankfully we got these new level 5s here that work as red and black, and they digivolve on top of red or black. So you can digivolve these level 5s onto any of your level 4s, and they become red and black. So then you can go Alphamon or Gallantmon on top of them, and that was just a really neat alternative. You do that, you can run Alter S in the deck, which is my favorite Digimon. So absolutely, I would want to run some Alter S action. Now, he is a little outdated, but you can still do a pretty big board wipe. Again, if we've got stuff like D Brigade showing up and going to be taking over the meta, or this blue Rookie Rush that's throwing in the Bond of Friendship, Alter S might be kind of good. You might be wanting to look at some Alter S's if that's the case. And then with running the Gallantmons as well as the Alter S's, you can toss in an X antibody, an Omnimon X antibody, I can words. So you can digivolve it for 6 on top of the Gallantmon, or you can use his effect and digivolve for 3 on top of your Alter S. Once you stick an X antibody on field, like, dang, like, that is it. Like, once you get one of these bad boys out there, you start to control the game so phenomenally. Now, against security control, that might be a bit of an issue, but against any other deck, just turn after turn of just removing everything off field, X antibody is definitely a force to be reckoned with. But this is more of a fun build that I went with. I kind of changed a few slots out here. Like I dropped a Suna Zeramon because I'm not getting those 13,000s, and it only works on black Digimon. So if I go Gallantmon, you know, my Suna Zeramon doesn't work with Gallantmon. Brought in the Numamon in place of the Mockmon because his is decoy black. He only protects black Digimon, so I can't use his effect on, you know, any of these other big guys that I'd want to protect. So dropped him just for another one cost Evo vanilla. So went with the Numamon here. Again, Mechanorimon could easily fit in this slot just as easily. And that's just kind of like a little alternative of the build. So it's that's my more serious one there, those two rows there, and then this is more of just a fun. I think it could be, you know, still solid. You can still play it, and it's not too janky, but it is janky just enough that I would be kind of scared to try to win a big tournament with it. But you could definitely take some people by surprise, and just like see the reaction would be so priceless. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you would, please like the video and subscribe. Just a little bit of help goes a super long ways. It helps the channel out tremendously, gets my videos out there, gets them seen. And if you really want to support the channel, check out the links in the description below. I'll have a link for my Patreon, which is displayed right here. You can get access to my Discord server that I have, as well as you can get the memory markers that we've had. These are just a few of my favorites from the past that we've had. The current one, Impmon's baby, as well as Gabumon's baby as well, Sunomon and Yamon. These guys are super adorable. I definitely love them so much. And every month a new one changes out, so make sure you check that out. As well as we have our new playmats. This is why I recreated this video. It's because our playmats are here finally, and they are super cool. I alternate between the black and white every single month for whoever wants to support this tier, as well as I have a tier just higher than that, so that way you don't also have to lose out on a memory marker. You can get both the memory marker and the playmat just in case you want both. Super awesome support from everyone that has supported in the past and who will support in the future. You guys are awesome. Also, if you want to check out my merch, my Teespring link is in the description below for that. We've got, you know, the shirts that I wear on the channel that has the logo across. I love when I see people representing my merch in public. It is like one of the coolest feelings I've ever had in my entire life. Very awesome. As well as phone cases for you people that love Digimon like so much like I do. A friend of mine custom made all these to fit these specific phone cases themselves, so the prices are a little bit higher just because I have to pay her back, as well as make a little tiny bit of profit because of how much unfortunately they take for their cut for Teespring. But like I said, if you can't do any of that, please just like the video and subscribe to the channel. Every time we hit a new mile marker for subscriptions, I give out free merch of all different types. 2000K, I think we're doing one of the playmat giveaways, so definitely be subscribed and ready for when that comes.